Large cappuccino. Orders up.
Something is in the air today, and it is the Athlete Cafe in Ohio. Luckily and thankfully, we have electricity, unlike some parts of the state and my own apartment. But only two of us. Kylene, how are you doing on this fine Friday?
I'm pretty good. I've been lucky enough to have power this whole time, so I'm in a little better spot than some of our friends here, but can't complain. What about you? How are you doing?
I'm holding in. I'm holding up, and that's as great as I can say it, I guess.
That's all you can do sometimes.
Yeah, all you can really do. And we're going to talk a little bit, if you can't tell, from the colors and also the resident Canadian in the office here.
Represent.
We're going to talk some Olympics and kind of just get into what's happening in Paris 2024 and our jobs as mental performance coaches, kind of taking it, from that mental performance lens a little bit more and break down. I think we each picked out 3 of our top favorite moments, a couple honorable mentions, and current, some breakdown, some stats. I'm a big stats person because I read because I'm educated. Thank you. But currently, right, we have 184 countries, 206 actually represented, and over 10,500 athletes this year at the Paris Olympics, with the U.S. leading the way with 594 athletes. And then host nation France right behind them with 572. Current medal count, any guess who's in the lead?
I think there's some upsetting news for our Americans here. I think they might have been bumped out of the lead recently. Is that what I heard?
Yeah, so it's at 9 a.m. this morning, the men's table tennis final. China took gold, I believe, and jumped their count to 31. U.S. is only at 30, but 17 medals up for grabs today.
Okay.
So
still plenty of time.
Anyone's game. And here in America, we don't care about what the gold medal count is. We care about the overall. And we're up 103 or 106, I believe, is the official count as of when I last looked at it. So
well, if we've learned anything from any of the Olympics, is that nothing's over till it's over. So there's still many medals left to win, and we'll see what happens with the rest of them.
Yeah, I'm excited too to see what moments we each picked out. But I guess first I have a question. What about any of the sports, if you could compete in the Olympics this year, what would you have picked?
It is actually one of my highlight sports that I picked. I think it'd be rugby. I don't know. I think when people ask me like if there's any other sports that I would have played other than hockey and softball, rugby's always been my go-to. I just think it's so fun. Like it just looks so intense and so cool. And I mean, watching it now, I don't know how I'd hold up during a game. They're incredibly intense, and I mean those girls and those guys out there, like they are tough. But I think it would be pretty fun to get out there and just give it a try. But yeah, that's my choice. What's yours? What would you go for?
Mine, I would probably go, and it's not really that it was actually televised because it's all the way out in Tahiti, and it will be one of my highlights that I picked. But I'd love to learn how to surf, because I think it's just so cool, and just like I love being in the water, in the ocean, and just catching waves, man.
Even the lakes out here in Cleveland.
On my way into the podcast this morning, I get to drive lakeside, and there were people surfing. There are waves. It's a lake, but as we said, the power's out because there are storms.
Gotta take what you can get sometimes.
Yes, storms equal waves equal surfing. Yeah. And that's just the basic math as you can get with surfers out there.
That's fair. Have you ever tried surfing before?
I have done boogie boarding.
Oh, close.
My youth,
okay.
Yeah.
My family went to Hawaii a couple years ago, and one of the excursions that we did while we were there was a day of surf lessons. Mm-hmm. It's hard. It's so hard. Like they make it look so easy out there, and you're like, oh yeah, like the board floats. Like you just gotta stand up. Like it seems easy in concept. I think I got up once, maybe twice the whole day we were out there. And that was like with an instructor, like pushing me into the wave and like helping me get set up. Like it is so much harder than it looks. So I definitely have a lot of respect for those athletes out there.
Finding the crest, finding the line that you need to ride down. Not only do you have to stand up, and then you actually have to stay up.
Yeah, that's the hard part too.
Let's not forget that. And I think to your point, these athletes make it look effortless, these sports that they're doing at an extremely high level. And if we tried to do it ourselves, even as former athletes, probably not former athletes, like it's difficult. And they, it's not, as they say, it's not every 4 years, it's every day they put in this work to be effortless. And I think one of, the all-time tennis greats. Roger Federer said that at a Dartmouth graduation speech. He said, he said it always bothered him when people would say, you make tennis look so easy and effortless. He's like, that's because I worked so hard, so long, so many years, so many hours put in the gym, on the courts, wherever you're kind of training to make it look like that. So yeah,
it's important to think about that. And I mean, even like a sport like surfing too, like when you're out there practicing, when you're putting those reps in, like you're getting beat up. Like if you fall off your board, if you like bail on a wave, whatever it is, like it doesn't feel good to go down like that. It's intense out there. It hurts, like hitting the sand, hitting the bottom, whatever it is, and they just keep getting back up, and it's pretty special in that way, I think.
That's I guess I'll kind of talk about one of my first clips
Go
with
for it.
surfing. Speaking of injuries, the correspondent out there and SNL host Colin Jost, it's not a pina colada, it's a Mai Tai. But no, he injured himself. He was out there surfing and hit a reef and kind of cut up his foot a little bit there. So yeah, I think, it's definitely, and he knows how to surf. He likes to surf apparently. And, I think it's cool to have him out there. He's made it a lot of fun to watch also. But my first moment is the fact that, as the host nation of whenever you host the Olympics, you automatically qualify for every single event. So you get to put athletes forward, and it's not like that's a bad thing, but France, they're competing actually not anywhere near Paris. They're over 10,000 miles. I don't know what that is in kilometers, but they're super far away. And in Tahiti, competing at Teahupo'o, I believe I'm pronouncing that correctly, hopefully. And their favorite, and a native son that actually lives in Tahiti, competes for France under the banners there. Kali Avast, and he won gold and represented and competed and won the gold medal, match. I don't know what it would exactly be called. The round competition. Yeah. So he won that, and just really cool, and a lot of immense pressure, right? These athletes must feel, right, when you compete for the home kind of country, home nation, especially in your home, not turf, as they say in swimming, your home reef. Defended the home reef with his gold medal and his score. Yeah. So just really cool moment, and a really cool to kind of do it while your nation's the one hosting and representing that. And I think it was just really cool to kind of see that after all the delays, the humpback breech whales.
Oh my gosh, that was crazy. That picture's wild.
The delays, the weather delays also, and just, everything else in between. Also
living on a yacht as your Olympic village.
Living on a yacht as your Olympic village must be nice. But also bronze medalist, I believe is Gabriel Medina. He's the one that, the viral picture too, I want to point out is one of my moments here too, of him just looking like he's floating. He's like the Fantastic Four Silver Surfer, just flying and hovering above these waves. And it's just really cool picture. And, congratulations to the gold medalist of France there, representing and defending his home reef. He's from Tahiti. And I think that was one of my cool moments because there's just so much pressure that he must have felt. And luckily surfing as a sport or lifestyle or culture, however you want to phrase all of the above, right? He just, I feel like he just took that pressure really well and just kind of probably just felt really at home, just kind of surfing, and probably just took it out, and seemed like he was like, just took it out like any other normal day when he was just there, just living and enjoying.
Just did his thing. That's really cool. I think one of the things that I always think about with surfing, and I mean, obviously from an outsider that has never competed or been around the sport very much, just how different it is from other sports with like the mental side and being confident in your decisions and like knowing what you're doing. Because like talking about things that we can't control, the waves, like who knows what it's going to be like out there that day, and you have to make the decision to go for certain waves, to let certain ones pass. And there's so many different things that you can think about or second guess yourself on. And I mean, just being able to, like you said, like stay calm, stay in control, and do your thing and make those decisions. And obviously it paid off in his favor. I think that's pretty cool that all of that kind of came together and worked out for him.
Yeah, and I believe if I'm remembering it correctly, watching it, they have 30 minutes. They have a priority, so one gets to go before the other and vice versa. So it also becomes tactical and strategical at one point. You can kind of drain. I don't know how much time you can drain, but it almost seems like you could drain the whole thing just trying to wait for that one wave. And that's what happened. The guy that won silver, he only had one scored wave and just couldn't find the other, waiting for that moment, right? And I think to your point, that's what makes surfing one of probably the tougher competitions out there. Is there's so many things out of your control, as you said, delays. You can't control the fact that there's wildlife out
there's
there.
Whales jumping
there's
in.
Whales right over there, right? So something definitely that'll be interesting, and definitely interesting to in 2028 when LA is hosting in the US, I would imagine that they would probably have the surfing competition out in Hawaii. So
Yeah,
I would
that'd
imagine
be-
some other really nice cool waves and hopefully some future cool picks there. But yeah, it was my first moment. I know you said rugby. Was it yours? So,
Yeah,
and
we
the sport
can-
you wanted. So
Yeah, we can jump
Walk
into that
through it.
one for sure. Lots of really cool moments with rugby. I've like watched parts of it here and there, but I haven't really sat down and watched full games necessarily up until we were planning this podcast. And the first thing that I thought about was like, I had no idea how short rugby games were. Like it's 2 7-minute halves. It's 14 minutes of play and you're done. And just the fact that you have to be dialed in and like have that intensity and just ready to go that entire time for like all those 14 minutes is just wild to me. And being able, like with surfing, right, being able to stay calm and not try and rush things and not just try and like go out too hot, but also be able to perform for that whole time is just pretty crazy at the pace that they're going.
Yeah.
So that was the first thing that I was kind of thinking about with that. The second
brutal
thing,
physical
oh my gosh,
sport also.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Yeah.
it's football without American football.
Yeah.
Without the pads.
Yeah. And like that was one of the other things is like when obviously like playing hockey, I've had so many people come up to me and be like, how do you like keep your composure like when you get hit? Like how do you not just like turn around like punch somebody? I'm like, well, it's part of the sport, right? Like you get used to it and stuff.
Right.
But out there on that field when they're like tearing each other down, like grabbing whatever they can and stuff, and then they help each other up the next play, it's like like coming from a physical sport, I'm like, wow, how do you do that?
Right.
Like it is pretty crazy.
So what was your moment?
But yeah, we have to talk about Team USA with that. First of all, I will say Canada upset Australia to make it to the gold medal match. Have to talk about that. Canada took home silver, which is exciting. But I think Team USA, the women's team, they really got women's rugby on the map this Olympics, which is really cool. I mean, when you think of rugby as a whole, I think usually you think about New Zealand, Australia, maybe even like England, like some of those European countries.
Definitely the New Zealand All Blacks come to mind.
Exactly,
As one of
right? Like
dominant
the
teams of
hockey,
this.
like yeah, everything.
Exactly.
That's exactly what you think about. And Team USA had never won an Olympic medal in women's rugby. They came out 1 bronze, but they took down Australia, which is one of those powerhouse teams. And I think just like listening to interviews and how they kind of went about it is they just wanted to get their team on the map. They wanted to grow the game in the USA. And I think they did just that, even though
Barely did just that, I think, is a theme. And you'll see it in one of our other podcast episodes. But
yeah,
the Americans want to really, as Americans, we really like to finish things off right to the last second. We want to
Yeah.
make you wait and sweat it out. So
yeah.
I think that was what was fascinating. I
Yeah.
think, watching it.
And that's like going back to the 2 7-minute halves, 14 minutes. Like they were playing against Australia, known for rugby. Like they could have just been like, man, like they've got us. They fought to the very last second, like that last Hail Mary play to take home that medal. Like they did not give up. They fought to the very end, and they were able to do it, which is just incredible.
Scored
So-
with literally zeros on the clock.
Yeah.
They weren't even in yet.
Like,
They just already
what?
zeros. And then also the nerd and much American football things too, right? And you have to make the kick too,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
And
you
hope
can.
nothing is kind of messed up with that, because I believe they technically maybe, I don't know exactly the rules of rugby, but something maybe could have happened there. But to literally do it at the last second, to have, to your point, going up against this almost like David and Goliath story, it's, you know, that courage and urgency and belief that the U.S. women's rugby team had to like kind of want this, like really want this, put it all out there and not play until the final whistle, her final.
Yeah, exactly. They fought for it and it paid off, which is really cool. The other thing that I have to mention, obviously, with the women's rugby is Alona Mar and just how incredible she has been through all of this. Just staying true to who she is. I think when we talk about social media in sports, a lot of the time it can be very negative on like why we have to stay off of it and like why we don't want to compare ourselves to others and that stuff. And I know a lot of athletes even like shut their phones off for the Olympics and just completely remove themselves. But she made the decision to use her platform for something positive, to be somebody that little girls can look up to be able to be confident in her toughness and athleticism and her femininity, and like just combine all of that and stay really true to who she is despite what everybody else was saying, is something really special. So I wanted to make sure I touched on that.
Yeah, look at that.
Yeah.
What a moment.
Right?
Yeah.
What a moment.
Crazy.
Very cool. Very cool. All right. What else you got? What else
What
were
else
your
do I got?
highlight moments
I think you know
here?
exactly what I have. And for
I
those
know.
that saw, hopefully, our last mental breakdown of the Wimbledon final, my favorite tennis player, one of my favorite athletes of all time, Novak Djokovic, right up there with Tom Brady, did it. I
He
think
did
that
the he did the thing.
He did the thing. He completed tennis, and last month I was sad watching the Wimbledon final, and I wondered, and I think a lot of people wondered, was that the moment that is that the defining ending moment for Novak Djokovic? Has the torch finally been passed to this younger generation? It's been talked about years and years for tennis, and the Olympics isn't as big for tennis, although it was played at where the French Open is played at Roland Garros, which is cool. It's one of the nice things when you host the Olympics and already have the infrastructure built out for the tennis tournament. But we got the rematch of the Wimbledon final, the matchup everyone's been wanting to see: Carlos Alcaraz of Spain, Novak Djokovic of Serbia. And I don't think that Novak Djokovic was walking off that court without that medal that day. Played absolutely superb tennis. But what really got me in the end was, when he won gold, just the sheer show of emotions, the fact that he had to hold that in probably the whole time, knowing what it meant. The fact that, as athletes, it's really tough to have support or feel like you have support in those moments when you're out there, especially in a solo sport like tennis. I know you have a golf one, so we can definitely talk about that in a second too. But, he's 2 hours into this match. It was 2 sets. It almost lasted 3 hours. 2 hours in, he's yelling at his box in Serbian. And luckily, one of the announcers was like, any of my Serbian friends out there can translate that. He's like, I've been yelling at you for 2 hours. Like, I've been trying to get you guys to encourage me or need your help for 2 hours. Like, I need you to help me get through this and get me to the finish line. And just the show of emotion afterwards, what it meant for him. He loves playing for his country, representing his country. That's what that's what the Olympics are about, whether you medal or not. And, it was the words afterwards that he said, he's like, it means a lot. Like, it's incredible with everything I've achieved in career. This feels like it's the big moment. And then, the reporter, very elegantly asked him, it's like, is the puzzle finally complete? And just what his answer of just, he said he's never felt like enough. He's never, feel like he's been enough. He has to tell himself that he's enough on and off the court. And this is a man that has achieved everything in the sport of tennis. There's now not anything he hasn't won. And for it to do it in his 5th Olympic try is insane. And also a shout out to, I forget who it is, but one of the wrestlers from Cuba just won his 5th consecutive gold medal.
Oh my gosh.
Right? So 2008 in Beijing, 2012 in London, 2016 in Rio, 2020/21 in Tokyo, and now 2024 in 5 straight golds. And Djokovic has been also competing since 2008 and hasn't gotten that moment. And it finally just meant the world to him, meant the world to also me as one of his fans, but
number one fan,
just to see it. Number one. Yes. But I think that was just a really cool moment to me. And the way Alcaraz took it after too, he was emotional. He'll have a lot more chances. He's only 21. I'm sure he'll be back and get a gold, I'm sure, at some point. And also shout out to the bronze medalist, Lorenzo Musetti, first Italian man to win a medal in tennis.
Good for him.
In 100 years.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
The bronze there. So
that's wild.
kind of a cool kind of wrap up for tennis and the kind of what's called the 5th major in the sport. So really cool moment. Just the fact that he needed the support, the fact that he had to fight through these emotions he's feeling, like he knows he's close, right?
You're right there.
You're right there. And the fact that he wants that support, because that's a big thing that I've been telling a lot of my athletes recently. Like, you have to surround yourself in this environment of people you want around you.
And know what you need in those moments. And clearly that's what he needed. And they came through and he was able to pull it off. So
8 weeks removed from minor meniscus surgery.
Wow.
Which is crazy to compete at that level.
Yeah, just another thing to add in there amidst it all. But going back to your point about the other medalist winning in the past 5 Olympics, I think that's something that gets talked about a lot in the Olympics, right? Is defending your title and winning multiple years in a row or competing in multiple games. But when you sit back and actually think about the fact that this only happens every 4 years, that's insane. You have to wait 4 more years for your shot. You have to train for those 4 years. You have to be ready to go and be able to be at your best 4 years from now. As you're getting older, as all of these life things, your body's changing, life is happening. Maybe you're having kids, maybe whatever it is, maybe you're going through loss, all of these other life things are impacting the 4 years between, and to still be able to come back and medal or even just participate in general, I think is really impressive and something that gets kind of overlooked sometimes. So
That's a 20 years.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
20
Yeah.
years
Like that's
of just
insane.
consistent excellence. Right. Not perfectionism. You have to
Yeah.
always avoid that. That's why I like to make sure I use the right word, right?
Mm-hmm.
Consistent excellence that these athletes can showcase. And yeah, I mean, it's absolutely unheard of.
Yeah.
It is the record. Pretty sure it was the record
I'm
when he
sure,
did it
yeah.
in Rio, but he added another 2 now. So
Why not? Why not throw
why
another
not?
one on
Keep
there?
going for it.
Yeah.
So,
We'll see what happens next, I
yeah.
guess.
But going back to the other kind of solo sport, I know you picked out golf.
Golf,
as one of your
yes.
moments.
Yes,
Avid
I am.
golfer you are.
Yes, getting back into it.
Yes.
No, I love golf, and it's one of those things where my family always watched it growing up. Golf and curling were our 2 big sports. Typical Canadian family with the curling. And I always hated watching it growing up. Like, it was always on the TV. And I was like, how do you just sit there and watch it? And now I'm so invested. I'm like getting out on the course whenever I can. Like, I'll sit down and watch it. So it's just funny how those things change. But I guess kind of similar story, like you were talking about with the emotions on the podium for him. Scotty Scheffler won the men's tournament for the U.S. And it was the same thing. He's won so many championships. He's got 2 Masters wins under his belt.
Been the most consistent golfer, I believe.
Yeah.
He's number 1 in the world.
Yeah, world ranked number 1, which no world ranked number 1 golfer has ever won gold at the Olympics. So that's another piece of pressure on him, right?
Yeah.
Going in knowing that nobody's ever done it, but everybody's expecting you to do it. And just the outpouring of emotion that he had on the podium too. Like he broke down and he had some tears, no matter like all the other championships he's won. Like just the
level ratchet up.
Yeah.
And it's for your country.
Yeah,
for
exactly.
the people and everything that it's representing.
Yeah, it just speaks to how big that moment is no matter what you've accomplished, which is really, really cool. But talking about fight with him too, like he started off pretty rough. He was really far back. I think he had kind of been counted out from a medal contention early on. But he stayed composed. He had, I think it was 5 birdies on his last 9 holes to come back and get gold, which again, that's insane.
Final score 62.
Yeah, like that. It's insane to be able to pull that out and stay composed again to the very end, right? Like he didn't give up. John Ram, he was looking like he was going to win gold. He kind of fell apart, had a couple rough holes, and then it was Tommy Fleetwood and Scotty Scheffler kind of battling it out for that win. And Scotty was able to, again, like just stay composed, take it one shot at a time, and pull it out, which is really big. But the other point that I wanted to make with him was the U.S. golf team at the beginning of the tournament, they had their golfers fill out one of those little like dry erase boards, kind of like you do for kids on their first day of school, right? Of like my favorite whatever. So it was like my favorite nickname, what's my nickname, my favorite Olympic sport to watch, and then like my goal for the Olympics was 1. And his goal was to have fun. And so everyone was kind of chirping him on like, that's really your goal for the Olympics, is to just have fun. Yeah. And he stayed true to that the whole time. Like he was smiling out there. And it obviously paid off. So that's something we talk about a lot with our athletes, I'm sure as you do too, is just remembering to have fun and not focusing on that outcome of winning gold. Which with everything, like with being ranked number 1, like obviously you want to win gold, doing all that and having that outcome focus really puts a lot of pressure on yourself. So I think that was probably a big part of why he was able to stay so composed throughout the whole round, was just he was having fun with it. And it's pretty cool that it paid off for him.
It sounds so elementary, and it was the cool thing watching the gold medal match for tennis with Carlos Alcaraz. The announcers talked about, Alcaraz when he was younger saw a sports psychologist, and I'm blanking on her name right now at the moment, but had a lot of anger management control issues kind of on the court, I believe, is what the broadcast was saying. And now he worked with her, all these techniques that we kind of can do with emotional regulation, these breathing, setting routines, and it did fall apart. It looked like in the final. I was kind of excited as a Djokovic fan watching it. I was like, I've never seen him like this, because usually he's cracking a smile. He's enjoying the point, whether he's winning or losing. It was a great point. He loves just that fun of competition and being out there. And that's why I think so many tennis fans flock to him, because he has fun, right? Yeah. And it sounds, like I said, so just, simple and elementary, and just,
but
it's so necessary.
Yeah,
right? Exactly. Because it just gets everything loose and flowing. Yeah. And if it works for you, it works for you. If it might not work for you, figure out ways to still enjoy it. You don't have to maybe show off like the fun, but as long as you're enjoying what you're doing.
Exactly. And I think like in a sport like golf too, where it is so mental and so frustrating, like you can take the same shot 10 times and it'll go 10 different places, right? Like it's just such a mental battle, and like being able to have one bad shot and be like, hey, it's okay, I'm still out here, still having fun, and like just giving yourself those reminders is what's going to pay off. So yeah, it's tough to do. But once you figure out what works for you, I mean, clearly it pays off. So
And following the trends of Americans, finishing off close at the last second, shooting it
yeah,
final round 62,
yeah,
right, to kind
keeping
of
it close.
get gold. It's something. It's a trend that is giving a lot of probably people out there heart
Some gray
attacks.
hairs,
some gray hairs,
yeah,
some sleepless nights maybe. You know?
Yeah. So I don't know. The women's golf is finishing up right now. I know a lot of people are rooting for Nelly Korda. We got Brooke Henderson out there for Canada, and lots of good golfers finishing out on the women's side too. So it'll be exciting to see what happens there.
And also, I want to mention this because they said it in the last episode too. We are excited for all the athletes that are out there competing for the Olympics. There's so many moments we could have chosen from. There's so many great moments. These are just the ones that kind of spoke to us. So I'm sure there's so many great other ones we could have chosen from. But I feel like we've mentioned a lot so far. But
we have.
What's your next one?
My third and final one. Not necessarily a specific moment, but just thinking about all the different sports that the Olympics kind of brings into the limelight that not everybody always watches, is weightlifting. So I've spent quite a lot.
That's just recently happening too, right?
Yeah, I think it is a little bit newer. But it's something that I've always enjoyed doing, more powerlifting than Olympic lifting. But it's been really cool to just watch their processes and watch how they go about it. And just talking about like the mental side of things, that it is a huge sport for that. You get 3 attempts to get your lift. You have to choose your weights. You have to be able to conserve your energy and then be able to turn it on and get hyped up enough to go hit these big lifts and throw around these big weights. So it's like all of these different things that go into it, which has been really, really cool to watch. I don't know. Have you been able to tune in for any of it?
I saw one of the score things of it the other day, and I thought it was like just really cool. And I know there's different way. I do remember a moment. It wasn't this Olympics. It was some time ago. But one of the people that won the gold medal, his wife recently passed away, and like he did this like final lift, and it was his last attempt, and he like nailed it, and it was just like the emotion. It's like he wasn't going to lose that day.
Yeah.
Like he went in knowing that he was going to win, and kind of he said, I think afterwards too, like he just knew her like presence there with him, like helping him for that. Man. So it's just
that's incredible.
Touching.
Yeah. But so like speaking more on some like the mental side of things, something that we talk about quite often with our athletes is called like eyes off. So your individual zone of optimal functioning. And it's just basically, it explains how there's an optimal level of arousal. So how excited or how relaxed you are, that correlates to your optimal level of performance. So anything where you're too excited or too calm, you're not going to have your best performance. And I think weightlifting is the perfect example of that because, again, you're going from sitting on the side in the back room, getting ready to go, to getting super hyped up or finding your optimal level, being able to throw around these big weights. So you can see if you watch it, a lot of these athletes are in the back. They're like wrapped in blankets. They're just sitting there visualizing things and like really, really calm. Yeah. And then the second they get to that platform, some of them, their coaches are hitting them. They're letting out a yell. They're taking their big deep breaths and they're like finding that zone and turning it on really, really quickly, which is cool to watch. They found what works for them to get them to that level.
Fluctuating back and forth there.
Yeah. And then the other thing with that too is obviously you get 3 lifts, and a lot of these athletes, like with weightlifting, you know the weights you can hit, right? You have your personal best, like you know your maxes, you know what you can hit, and a lot of these athletes were missing their first lift, which is kind of like your warm-up weight. Like it's the easy one, you know you're gonna get it, and these athletes were missing it. And listening to the announcers talking about the technique and the skill, it's like they were coming out too excited. They were coming out too hyped up where they were losing control.
Right. Muscles were already kind of tight.
Exactly. Yeah. They were tight. They were trying to go through things so quickly. So they were changing that technique because they were too excited to get out there and hit those lifts. So they were missing the light weights and then going out there and like nailing these heavier weights that are like close to their max or even above it.
Right. It goes like each attempt almost. You're going like for the next one,
exactly,
and trying to like put your muscles into it.
Yeah,
they're kind of doing the opposite.
Exactly. So yeah, they were starting off too excited, too hot, and it was working against them. So again, just going back to finding that zone, trusting your body that it knows what it needs to do, and being able to stay composed in those big moments, which was something we really saw, which was really cool to watch. So.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Weightlifting.
Yeah.
I feel like we all have lifted weights at some point too, right? I feel like that one's one of the sports that like everyone has done because as an athlete, right, that is part of the regimen. That's part of the conditioning process too. And the mental strength. Yeah. Literally quite the physical strength and the mental strength it takes to kind of push and power through lifts is
technique.
something.
Yeah, and even watching these athletes, again, like you pick your weights that you're going against. And so sometimes if an athlete is in a medal spot and they're lifting something heavier than you, some of these athletes have never hit these weights before. So they're going for a personal best, a personal record on this stage, not knowing that they've never gotten it before. Like
Right.
they've never successfully completed a lift at this weight. But they're like, hey, like I might fail at this, I might get it, but I'm at least gonna give it a shot because it's what I have to do. So I mean, thinking about it as an athlete, I know a lot of the time we're working through like fear of failure, right? Like not wanting to mess up, not wanting to let people down, just not wanting to miss things, especially, I mean, in weightlifting where if you miss it, it could hurt, it could not end well.
It could hurt, pain, injury.
It could be a really tough outcome. Embarrassment is huge. But these athletes just kind of have to be like, hey, there's a good chance I'm going to fail, but I'm still going to go for it if it means getting a medal or at least being able to look back and know that I gave it my best effort. So it's fun to watch. It is. There's a lot of skill, technique, strategy that goes into it.
Self-talk and screams, I think, really is a big part of the sport, right?
Yeah.
And it is. You need that, like, breathing, and that's a really kind of crucial thing, too, I think, with that. So
breathing's huge. I think you can watch any athlete as they step up, one, to the platform, and then two, to the bar. You can see them taking their deep breaths. You can see them getting set and doing what they need to do. So, yeah, it's definitely a big one.
To share my final moment, I
let's
to borrow
hear it.
that sheet because I don't remember all these
It's okay.
accomplishments that are on it.
We've had some good talks. It's okay. Take your time.
This one I just thought was really cool. When each country, each federation gives different bonuses and rewards to their athletes based on how they perform or how well they do, and it's kind of that incentivized, right? It's kind of that extra goal piece to this thing, which all these athletes set goals. Granted, it seems like a far set away with 4 years out, but they have all these, world championships you get to learn about. I feel like I'm like, they have a world championship for that, right? Like they have a world championship for every single sport out there that they're competing in. But the one that I thought that was really cool, Carlos Yulo, representing the Philippines, is the first ever male Olympic gold medalist for his country. And any idea what he got for being the first male Olympic gold medalist for the country?
I think there's a little list of things on there, so I don't know. I'm excited to hear.
There it is. Thank goodness we got it right here.
Look at that.
Yes, he was part of, I believe the U.S. gets like $75,000
I was gonna ask
per
if you
medal,
knew.
I believe. I might be misquoting that. So
does it change?
Maybe I can call out the researchers in the audience or behind the
scenes.
scenes.
Does it change per medal?
I don't know if it changes per medal. How much do U.S. Olympic athletes get for getting a medal in the Olympics? And while I wait on that answer, I'll share with you what Carlos Yulo, male gymnast, does the vault. He's what he got his gold on. Got a house from his government. Also a 2-bedroom condo, fully furnished, valued at all these are U.S. dollar values, $415,000. He received $173,000 from the Sports Commission, $52,000 from the House of Representatives. After the age of 45, he's currently 21, I believe, he will get a lifetime of free colonoscopies and GI work. Something for the older athletes and folks out there. That's kind of hype. 1.7K worth of free furniture, free ramen food buffets for life, lifetime supply of free cookies from Cookies by the Bucket.
Okay.
Not by the jar,
by the bucket.
A new iPhone 16 and a lifetime of free engineering design by Nexa Engineering. He got all of that for getting gold, and just the incentives, the goals that you can reach just from, achieving. And I believe we have the number.
For a gold medal, $37,000.
U.S. Olympic athletes, gold medal, $37,000.
Silver gets $22,000.
Silver, $22,000.
And bronze, $15,000.
And bronze, $15,000.
I'm surprised. I actually, now that I think about it, I was listening to the radio the other day, and they were talking about incentives, and I think the U.S. is actually pretty low on the list of what they give their athletes.
They are.
Which is very interesting.
In terms of physical money.
Yeah.
But,
But I think
the moment is priceless. As you've seen,
we're all in it for the moment, not for the rewards, right?
And that's I think an important piece, right? Oh, it's nice to get all these incentives and nice to get the accolades and the sponsorships and all this other stuff, right? Like these people worked their entire life for this, right? Those
paying for coaches,
internal motivators, right? Not the external motivators of money, even though that is nice in a nice bedroom that probably has electricity now. Yeah, had to bring it back. But right, like just wanting to do this because they've trained and worked so hard for this, I think is what you need to kind of do it for. Want to have that moment of representing your country and your your life's work essentially.
Yeah,
right, as an athlete.
it is.
So.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. It paid off. He's got some pretty cool incentives
Pretty
that did
cool
come from that, and
incentives.
he can say that he was the first gold medalist, right?
First male
gold medalist.
gold medalist.
Very
Yes.
cool.
Mhm.
Go down in the record books.
Yeah,
Nice.
for sure. Well,
Those are some
do
good
you-
moments.
those
There's
are
lots
some
of good
moments.
stuff. Yeah.
You got any honorable mentions? Honorable mentions.
No, I do just have to say, I think a little comment on Canada. I know we're not not at the top of the rankings for medal count, but we bank on our Winter Olympics. So
about to say,
we'll be making a comeback then, and maybe we'll have to do a Winter
2026.
Olympic. Yeah, and a Winter Olympic mental breakdown when we get there. So
Absolutely. And I
Good
think
stuff.
too, the cool thing, I think I read it, 17 new Olympic and world records have been set so far in
Wow.
this Olympic cycle. So the level of excellence has been raised, and
the bar
you
just
know,
keeps.
the bar just keeps getting ratcheted up, and
Yeah.
we will see in LA in 2028,
Yeah.
you know, what moments we'll have then.
Yeah, we'll see Canada on top. All right. Well, that was a good one. Lots of good moments.
Lots of good moments, lots of
Yeah.
gold medal moments, and a gold
Yeah.
medal Friday.
Hey.
If you like what you're listening to, be sure to follow the Athlete Cafe on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. You can find us wherever you enjoy listening to your podcasts.